All right, 29-17 Dolphins over the 49ers. And you look toward 2025, and all you can say is San Francisco obviously needs to improve that offensive line. Pass protection breakdowns all game long. And the biggest one came at the very end when Calais Campbell comes through unblocked over the middle. This is the field that hosted Super Bowl 54, and the 49ers suffered a very similar demise in that game when they couldn't block the interior. They really struggled against Chris Jones in that game. That derailed one of the comeback drives for San Francisco. And then you saw Kansas City score a long touchdown run against an exhausted defense to finish the game. Same thing happened today, long touchdown run for Miami after the interior pass protection breakdown. But, there was a point at the end of this game where the 49ers were running Jalen Moore at left tackle, and then he got hurt, so Spencer Burford, who hadn't played left tackle since he was at San Antonio, had to move into that left tackle position. And then Nick Zakelj had to take over for Aaron Banks, who hurt his ankle at the left guard position. So you had a third string left tackle who hadn't played in that position since college at San Antonio in Burford, next to Zakelj, next to Jake Brendel, who's really regressed this season. And then Dominic Pooney and Colton McKivitz Pooney's been good. McKivitz had his issues today. I think he's been better than last year, but you still had 4 of the 5 positions performing at a below average level for the 49ers, and you saw it with the pressure, hordes of pressure. I thought Brock Purdy did really well leading the touchdown drive after the 2 illegal formation penalties against Ricky Pearsall, which really killed the 49ers, but Purdy can only do so much. He threw for nearly 300 today. Whenever the 49ers do something good offensively, it has been because of Brock Purdy, and he's fighting an avalanche. I would even offer to say that it's a broken product for the 49ers, and it has been for the vast majority of this season. Most recently, the only really clean game where we've seen the entire offense firing on all full cylinders has been against the Bears, who had just fired their coach. But even wins for the 49ers over the past couple months, we talk about Tampa Bay, talk about the game at Seattle. Remember that early game on October 10th at Seattle? Brock Purdy has had to put on the Superman cape to make stuff happen. And he did for a large portion of the second half today, getting the 49ers in position. But then there was a mistaken handoff there at the front. The 49ers weren't able to block Calais Campbell. And whenever pressure is coming clean up the A-gap, then you don't have a chance. There's no quarterback in the league that's going to have a chance when pressure comes clean up the A-gap. I will say that back in 2019, when the 49ers lost the Super Bowl at this stadium, the very first thing I said was offensive line. 49ers need to get the interior better. And after that was the season that Weston Richburg went down against New Orleans in Week 14. So that really hurt the 49ers at center. And then obviously right guard with Mike Person wasn't great in that game. Mike Person, who later joined the staff of the Dolphins. You have to say the same thing now when we've seen what the center left guard regression has been for the 49ers. At center, Jake Brendel a couple years ago was a plus pass protector. That is no more. This year, Aaron Banks, who got hurt today, also had a poor season. So it's not just the injuries today for the 49ers offensive line. It has been the regression at center and left guard that I've talked about a lot over the course of this season that the 49ers need to address this offseason. So if you talk about 2025 off-season plans for San Francisco, I think it has to start in the center. I wonder if they try to bring in somebody like, obviously Alex Mack is retired, Weston Richburg is retired, but somebody of name brand value at the center position. Shanahan has, in the past, definitely erred toward a veteran center up until Jake Brendel, who, again, was good for the 49ers in 2022, but I think his play has trailed off over the past couple of years, especially this year coming off the knee tendonitis. And, that issue at the core of what has afflicted the 49ers was really on display during this game against Miami today. 11 penalties for 90 yards for the 49ers. Now, they entered this game as the second least penalized team in the entire NFL, but 11 today, you're not going to win many football games if the other team is being penalized half as much as you and everything else is relatively even. Deebo Samuel did explode today for the 49ers. I think, with Deebo, he's heard the criticism, and I think he played with a chip on his shoulder today. And a lot of people asking, where was that earlier for Deebo Samuel? And I think everything is always probably going to be a little bit more complicated than the outside is going to make it out to be. Debo started this season on a tear. I mean, weeks 1 and 2, he had over 100 receiving yards in week 2 against Minnesota, and he had a good training camp. I think that's when he hurt his oblique, and then he had obviously the pneumonia that he had to deal with against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that he never fully came back from that oblique as far as, I don't know if it was physical health or confidence or a combination thereof, until today. We saw Deebo Samuel running angry today. We saw the yak like we used to from Deebo Samuel. So that gives the 49ers another thing to think about. They obviously didn't have a full offensive repertoire. I mean, we could start with the focus on the line, but Patrick Taylor Jr., their 5th running back of this season, that was a huge problem today for San Francisco. Only averaged 3 yards a carry, but he wasn't really sure where to be in the pass game. I mean, there was the one play where it bounced off his hands and it was nearly intercepted by the big defensive tackle, 95. And then Patrick Taylor ran to the wrong side of Purdy on a play action and wasn't in position for the check down pass, which is why Christian McCaffrey is so important to this offense. So the 49ers operated all season with a broken product offensively. Purdy has had to will so much of the productivity. It hasn't been a good system-wide effort between the lack of yak, which they fixed a little bit today. Kyle Shanahan finally called more screen passes. That's improved over the past couple weeks, but the lack of yak, the lack of separation, which persisted on the non-screen passes today, those have all been massive issues, and at the center of all of them has been literally the center of the offensive line, which was exposed in its worst way of this season, and that's got to be the foundation for the 49ers moving forward. Middle of the O-line has to be strong in the NFL. There's no quarterback that's going to perform well. I could tell you about Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl after he beat the 49ers. His entire offensive line was hurt, had injuries kind of like the 49ers injuries today on the left side, and Patrick Mahomes managed only 9 points in the Super Bowl. Pressure up the A-gap is going to kill any NFL offense, and the 49ers had way too much pressure up the A-gap today. I mean, even there was this one just A-gap. This was a red zone play, 3rd down play where it looked like Kittle was open, who played a good game in the end zone, and Purdy just couldn't get the ball to George Kittle because Chop Robinson, the really good rookie edge rusher for the Miami Dolphins, put the right tackle on skates. Colton McKivitz on skates, pushed him back into Purdy, and then Chop Robinson made the great deflection ahead of the first half. So, I mean, stuff like that is the determination between winning and losing a football game. If you form a clean pocket, then you're going to have more chance at clean plays, and those efficient plays will roll in to the point where you could win football games. Obviously, the 49ers also failed when Jake Moody missed a field goal. I think that was a disastrous sequence that really encapsulated what went wrong today. Purdy, behind a beaten up offensive line, drove the 49ers down the field. Excellent 3rd down throw to Deebo Samuel, but 2 illegal formation penalties on the rookie, Ricky Pearsall, who'll be okay. He's a rookie, he's been through a lot, but 2 illegal formation penalties on that drive nullified what probably would have turned into a touchdown for San Francisco after Deebo got inside the 5-yard line, and then Jake Moody missed the field goal, which led to the total failure of the entire end game sequence, because that changed all the numbers at the end, right? 49ers needed a touchdown, not just a field goal. So good illustration of the 49ers' entire system continuing to fail them over the course of this really tough year. They were eliminated from the playoffs formally before this game started, so this is all developmental window dressing. We're just analyzing stuff. We're just looking at how we can evaluate the 49ers for 2025 and beyond. And I think they really, really need to start with what I've been talking about since the Super Bowl in this same stadium in 2019. That is the interior offensive line. All right, I'm off to the locker room. We'll talk to you soon.